Hello and welcome to the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel for our weekend preview. And what a weekend we have coming your way. A bumper card at Cheltenham with 9 races there. We're not going to be previewing all of them, but we'll be previewing 6 of what looks some really good quality contests. We'll also be giving our other selections at the end of the preview. Jack, we missed last weekend, obviously the Clarence House meeting at Ascot due to the weather conditions. Hopefully nothing scuppers Cheltenham's plans this weekend, but due to that we get the Clarence House at Cheltenham either Saturday or Sunday. You're looking forward to it?
Yeah, I don't think I've been as excited for a race day, as excited as a race day as this for a long time. I think probably Champions Day was the last time I was as excited for this. I mean, it's just there's so much strength and depth, isn't there? We've got good field sizes, a lot of angles as well, all around the country as well. The field sizes are great everywhere, and hopefully a couple of winners. So yeah.
Yeah, let's hope so. We're going to be looking at all the graded races on the card. We're also going to be looking at the big handicap at Cheltenham as well. And like I say, you'll get our other selections. You'll get my thoughts on Meydan at the end as well. Hopefully I can continue some good form out there. Let's start off then with Cheltenham in the 1140, which is the 2 mile 1 furlong JCB Triumph Trial Juvenile Hurdle. It's a grade 2 event, and the betting currently looks like this. Comfort Zone 9-4, Jupiter Digit is 3-1, Dixon Cove is 7-2, Scriptwriter 4-1, Filderar 25-1, Mombasa 33-1, Active Duty 40s, and the outside of the lot is Novella at 66-1. Jack, we were discussing this race of midweek, and I know that you quite like one in here. Gary Moore horse having a trial for the Triumph. What can go wrong?
Yeah, what can go wrong, eh? Goodness me, a Gary Moore horse who's got a bit of a screw loose. Who would have thought, eh? But what a race. What a race this is. I mean, you got Comfort Zone, Jupiter Digit, Dixon Cove, Scriptwriter. I think you probably stop looking there. If anything from outside of there wins, and I'll be very surprised. I think, for me anyway, this race is quite simple. It all depends on the ground. If the ground is soft, I really fancy Jupiter Digit. And if it's good, if there's a bit of good in the going, then I think Scriptwriter will take all the beating. I think Scriptwriter won't want it soft whatsoever. Dixon Cove and Comfort Zone, of course, got the piece of form tying in last time out. But I thought Jupiter Digit was so impressive at Newbury against his elders. Of course, he was given a lot of weight, wasn't he, on the Challow card that day? But I mean, as a juvenile, I think he's the best juvenile jumper I've seen this term. I thought he jumped absolutely impeccably. I mean, from a time perspective, I mean, it was pouring all day at Newbury, so it was quite hard to compare times on the day. But I mean, compared to Midnight Ginger, who actually ran on good to soft ground, 121 rated mare on the first race of the card, he was about 13 lengths quicker from the first hurdle to the line, taking away his £13 which he had in hand. It is about 8-9 lengths quicker than 121 rated hurdler on worse ground. So I think from a time point of view, he galloped and he galloped and he galloped, and I think it was a very impressive performance. Yes, he may have a bit of a screw loose. Gary Moore said he couldn't believe it. I mean, he hit 1,000-1 in play on the exchange. So I mean, look, I'll be looking at him with eagle eyes in the prelims at the pre-parade ring and the parade ring to see if anything's up. But yeah, if there is soft ground, I think Jupiter Digit is seriously the one to beat. And given soft ground on the Friday of the festival, I think he is a huge Triumph contender.
Yeah, look, he's got to be my fantasy as well in here. Obviously, we're hoping that we get the soft ground for this horse. But remember, this horse was the conqueror of Jet Powered, the horse who was the big hype horse for the Supreme, and actually beat stable companion Iniston that day, who isn't a bad horse at all, and he has an entry at Fontwell on Sunday. See whether he takes up that entry. The second that day was Klitschko. Now, I wouldn't be giving up on Klitschko either. I think that could be a really strong race. With regards to the Coral Finale, the Chepstow Coral Finale Juvenile Hurdle, I wasn't a massive fan of that race at all. I really wasn't. Comfort Zone, I don't think he's a great favourite here. I may be completely wrong, but Perseus Way was a juvenile, and that for Gary Moore, who finished third that day. And I'd actually say that Perseus Way was a bit unlucky not to finish closer either. And I just think that potentially now Jupiter Digit, Gary Moore will probably say that he's probably the one that's held in the higher regard as a juvenile. So, look, you never know, Percy's Way could end up in something like the Boodles. We'll have to wait and see. But Jupiter G, a really good jumper. If the ground's soft, could go and make all in this. And he'd be a bet for myself and Jack, 3-1 the current price.
Yeah, I think, just quickly, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I really hope Jamie Moore just lets him bowl along out front. I'll be really annoyed if he tries to hold him up in field. As you say, I think he has to make all. That'll be his only chance of winning.
Yep, Jamie Moore tried to make all on Goshen, didn't he, in the Triumph Hurdle a few years back. But look, let's see what happens this year. I'm not going to get too excited about a Gary Moore juvenile hurdler just yet. Let's go on to the 120 then. This is the rescheduled 2 mile, well, the extended 2 mile Albert Bartlett Clarence House Chase, a grade 1 event. Great to see this get rescheduled a week later. Energumene, the 8-15 favourite. Edwardstone, 2-1. Editor de Gite, 12-1. Fernando Savola, 50-1. Amaryllis Sky, 66-1. And Sizing Potsy, 150-1. Energumene versus Edwardstone. Usually we don't get to see the Arkle winner taking on the current champion Chase winner until March time, Jack. But this is a bonus race for this card, and it's lucky that we get to see them, clash now.
Yeah, 100%. I really can't wait to see it, actually. If anything, I think Edwardstone's probably the bet, 2-1 compared to Energumene at 15-8 on. I mean, the champion Chase last year on those in those attritional conditions, it just hasn't really worked out very well. You've got Envoy Allen, who, of course, stepped up to 3 miles, a different beast. You've got Fernando Savola in behind there. I know he's been very impressive when he's come out in the hilly way. Of course, he was very, very impressive. And of course, he was in the champion chase when beating Chacun Pour Soi in April. Chacun Pour Soi really hasn't done anything since then as well. And I just think Edwardstone, he of course, he doesn't get as much credit as he deserves. The Arkle, which we all classified and coined as a horrible division last year. Blue Lord's come out and is now a big champion chase contender. And Edwardstone, of course, is a big champion chase contender as well. I just think there's probably a little bit... I think there's not as much between them as the market suggests. I don't think Editor de Gite has much chance. And I think Edwardstone back at Cheltenham, we know he handles it. I think he's very ground versatile. I don't think the soft ground will be too much of a problem. And hopefully he may not be able to turn over Energumene, but I think he'll be closer than the odds suggest.
Okay, yeah, interesting angle there. I mean, it's not a race that I looked at for too long. I'm really looking forward to watching this one. It's going to be an absolute cracker. I just think that Editor de Gite might just set this up perfectly for Energumene. I can see this horse, Energumene, tanking around the home bend. I won't lie, I agree with what Jack said there. Edwardstone, look, it's proved a lot of people wrong. A lot of people calling that Arkle a poor Arkle, but I think it's turned out to be a lot better than we all imagined with Edwardstone coming out and winning the Tingle Creek in good style. But I'd just say that, look, Editor de Gite's just going to set this up for me perfectly for Energumene, who I think will be winning the champion chase come March. Now let's go on to a race where we may have some big price selections, or hopefully so. It's the 150, which is the Paddy Power Cheltenham Countdown Podcast Handicap Chase, a Premier Handicap over 2.5 miles. Fugitive and Il Ridoto are the 5-1 joint favourites here. Your Darling 8-1. Brave Siaska is 10-1. 12-1 about Carl Philippe. 14-1 about Now, Where or When. That's 14-1. And then Cool Cody and the likes of Guy, they're all 16-1 or bigger. The rest. My selection here is going to be ground dependent. And I'm probably not going to get it, but I will throw a dart if it's good ground at a horse who a lot of people say is their cliff horse. Now, this is a horse that I've never backed before, but 80% of our viewers probably have backed this horse, and it's Spirit of the Games. He's such a game horse, and look, a lot of people, like I say, would have backed this lad. He was third in this last year, second back in 2020 in this race, and I have to be on him here at a price. What's he, 20-1 each way? He was second in the Dalbury Handicap Chase, staying on stoutly, so even at 11, he still shows plenty of grit and determination. There's no doubts about that. He was 7th the last day off a mark of 137. He's only been dropped £1 for that, but look, he tends to, look at his form, he tends to run a blinder and then the next day just runs poorly. I know the ground probably wasn't ideal for him the last day, but I think if the ground were to come up quick, look, I know it's probably not likely to do so, but I have to give him a chance. The Skeleton's got a couple in there. They've also got All Mankind in there, who I know a lot of people have been raving up for a potential handicap plot at Cheltenham come March. But yeah, look, Skeleton picks Spirit of the Games. I know he's always going to pick this horse because he's a lovable one from the yard, but if the ground comes up the way I'm hoping it will, 20-1 may seem a big price about this legend of a handicapper at Cheltenham, Jack. What about yourself?
Yeah, goodness me, I can't believe you just put up Spirit of the Games.
Yeah.
I think, as you say, I think everyone has been on Spirit of the Games. Yeah, great race. I don't know if there's too much quality in there. Wouldn't be surprised if Fugitive and Il Ridoto are actually just both too good for the field. That being said, I think it is a good race to try and find a bit of an each-way angle, as you've said. I'm umming and ahhing between which one of two to put up. I'm definitely going to have two selections. The first selection is going to be Precious Eleanor, who's 25-1 at the moment, who's a great jumper. But the one thing is, she just doesn't like going right-handed. At Market Raising in November, finished 4th of 6 in listed company. Last time out at Sandown, finished a respectable 3rd of 8. Jumped left-handed all the way around. A decent jumper. It was really attritional conditions that day. But going left-handed over fences, she has form of 2-2-2-2. won one. So including over course and distance last year on good ground, I think she's very versatile with regards to ground. She's £2 lower than that run at Sandown last time out. And yes, I mean, she's only off 128, but I do think she's got the course and distance form. And I really wouldn't be surprised to see her put up a bold performance. I think she's much better going left-handed. And I think Precious Eleanor could actually put up a bold performance. The one who I was umming and ahhing over putting up was Cole Philippe for Fergal O'Brien, of course, the Harry Redknapp owned Carl Philippe, who's as consistent as they come. But I actually think Simply the Bets may be able to bounce back here. I think the David Maxwell factor, I know there's a big David Maxwell factor with regards to handicap hurdles, but I think he's down to a mark of 145 now. He was second on New Year's Day last year behind Vienna Court off 153. And his first outing this year behind Garlow when he was seventh, he really wasn't disgraced back in seventh whatsoever. And that was off 152. He's now £7 lower than that. When he was ninth last time out, he didn't jump too great in the business end. But I think over 2.5 miles at Cheltenham, he still has the ability to fire. Of course, he has David Maxwell taking off £3. He's a 10-year-old now, but he definitely retains plenty of ability. Simply the Bets is about 20 to 1, and Precious Eleanor is 25 to 1. They've both got the course and distance form, and hopefully that proves key here.
It's not a weekend preview without someone mentioning a David Maxwell horse anytime he has a run. I guarantee you, I mean, I don't know this is a fact, but tomorrow night's in the know if Ross Briley doesn't mention Simply the Bets, and I'll be absolutely shocked. But for Jack, Simply the Bets has got to mention, and Precious Eleanor, the Henry Daly horse, course and distance winner, the other one that he will be with. Let's move on then to another Grade 2, which is the Paddy Power Cotswold Chase. 3 mile, 1.5 furlongs here for this event, and what a cracker this is. Protector at 13 to 8, Noble Yates 2 to 1, Ahoy Senor 15 to 2, Frodon 17 to 2, Sounds Russian 10 to 1, and Dusart is 14 to 1. Jack, what a race this is. Protector at Noble Yates, Frodon, Ahoy Senor. I mean, is it between the top two in the market, or are you going to tell us that Ahoy Senor wins this and then goes on to win the Gold Cup at Cheltenham in March?
I think you're right with both of those things. It probably is between the top two, but I think they're probably both a little bit too tough to split, and I wouldn't back either of them. And therefore, I think the play would be to back Ahoy Senor and Sounds Russian are the two that I'm going to be backing on the day. And I know Noble Yates, of course. I mean, he's so versatile. I mean, they finished at 110% finishing speed. I watched the Many Clouds back last time out. And I mean, there's just one time, and it looks like he makes the others look like they're standing still. And I mean, he jumped very well. There's one time he needed a little bit of a remind around the home bend, but I mean, he's very versatile. He stays. He has a turn of foot. He's matured very nicely. He's a good jumper, and he could just be a lot better than these guys. And Protector Out, of course, he's a year older this year. I still think I'm not going to forgive Harry Skelton for not shutting the door on Rachel Blackmore and at Aplutard. I think Aplutard, of course, still would have won the Gold Cup last year, but I think Harry Skelton should have shut the door. It's nothing really that many people talk about, but I think that probably would have meant we didn't have a runaway winner in the Gold Cup. Protector Out was very impressive in the Betfair Chase. There's still a question mark as to how strong that piece of form was. Aplutard not showing up. Eldorado Allen back in second. I mean, wasn't disgraced in the King George. Back in fourth. But look, they are definitely the top two in the market. But they've both got to give way to Ahoy Senor and Sounds Russian. Now, Protector has to get. They both have to give £6 away to Sounds Russian, which means technically Sounds Russian and Noble Yates are off level weights. And I know 10 to 1 is still a big price for Sounds Russian, but he looks like he's just improving steadily. I know Ruth Jefferson has talked about him going to the Ultima, but I think he's probably going to be a little bit too good for the Ultima. I'm probably be rated about 163, 164 after this, but I really could see him running a big race. Of course, he was second in the Roland Merrick, off carrying 11 stone 12, carrying £15 more than Into Overdrive. And when he's asked for an effort, I watched his last 3 runs back, it's not an instant effort. And I don't think people have warmed to him because he's just a stayer, and he's going to keep plugging on. I think the early pace is going to be key here. But with Ahoy Senor and Frodon, I think he could be plugging on up the hill. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Sounds Russian run a big race in second behind Ahoy Senor, who is going to win. Of course he's going to win before Gold Club glory. Look, he's overlooked time and time again. He's currently 8 to 1. If the ground does dry up slightly and he does get his own way in front, I just think he's completely overlooked. And a lot of people do dismiss the quality that he has showed. He absolutely brushed aside Brave Man's Game and Long Press at Aintree last year. He hasn't really been able to stay as well as he has last year, but I mean, I've made the point to you before. He's gone odds on in play for both the Charlie Hall and the Many Clouds, and was only 4 to 1 in play for the King George at one stage. He's just very keen. I think he has had excuses for every run. I know it's easy to be able to pick up the excuses. He doesn't want to be fresh like he is at Wetherby. I don't think Aintree really picked up very well. I don't really think he had too much of an excuse, Aintree, to be fair. And then, except his jumping, goodness me. And then Kempton's not his track whatsoever, as we see. So I do think he does still have a big chance, especially in the spring ground come March. This may not be his big race, but Ahoy Senor is better than people take him for. And I know I've gone on for way too long there, but Ahoy Senor and Sounds Russian, long short of it, are the two that I'm going to be backing.
No shock that you're going to be back in a hoist in your. You just had Sounds Russian in there just to protect yourself there, haven't you? Look, I'd love to be as excited as you and try and find something away from the top two in the market. But I just think Protectorat is a good thing here. He's easily beaten Frodon in the Betfair Chase and travelled so kindly into that race, and he made it look easy. That grade one, and for any horse to make a grade one look easy is always impressive. Now, Noble Yates, my only concern with this horse, it missed the intended prep run that they wanted before the Gold Cup, which was meant to be at Lingfield last weekend. We've got to remember that, albeit, look, it hasn't mattered, they've managed to come here. But I think we'll learn a lot from Noble Yates, personally, with regards to this. I think, look, he was ninth in the Ultima last year, and does he enjoy the track? I know it's completely different. He's a completely different horse. Has he improved loads? He's £20 better than he was then, but I just have a few little question marks with regards to that. Ahoy Senor I just can't have, Jack. I just don't think this horse wants it this season. I know you like this horse. I know you hold some nice slips, and if he does win the Gold Cup, I'm going to be cheering for you, and I'll give you plenty of lovely messages, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Protectorat is a classy horse, third in last year's Gold Cup. We've got to remember that. Looks a better horse than ever, and Skelton described him on Luck on Sunday this week. I don't know if you managed to catch that interview, but described him as his best chance of having a winner at Cheltenham this year. So I will be with him. Let's go on to the 3 o'clock then. Now this is the Dilbury Stallions at Chapel Stud Cleeve Hurdle, a grade 2 over 3 miles, and Paisley Park is the 5-4 favourite here. Cannot believe this. If you had told me that this horse was going to be this short for a Cleeve Hurdle this season, even as short for a Stayers Hurdle, can't imagine what I'd done. Dashel Drasher 4-1. Jelena Bello is also 4-1. Botox Has is 10-1. Molly Ollie's Wish is 12-1. Gold Sweet is 33-1. And Lord Accord, interesting to see him here, 50-1.
Get it over and done with. Go on.
Okay, whoa. Okay, I'm gonna say this now. This is last chance saloon for me with this horse. And I think the step up to 3 mile for Botox Has, we're going to see him to better effect now, I personally feel. For those who don't know with regards to Botox Has, this isn't just one of those Gary Moore horses that I've just clinged onto. It's also the fact that I've put this horse up for the Stayers Hurdle Annecy Post at 66-1, which I know Tiapu's come out and won. They looked really impressive and now looks the one to beat, but it does look a very open market in behind. So the winner of this could be one of those that ends up running on into a place in a Stayers Hurdle. But Botox Has, I know there's the 7 runners here, but you may be able to get 3 places on the day with some bookmakers. It wouldn't surprise me if some gave extended places, but what is he, 10-1 has to be played here. He looked a proper improving horse. I've mentioned it plenty of times when running at Haydock in that handicap hurdle. Wasn't ridden by Jamie Moore then, was ridden by Karen Quinn, who gave the horse an excellent ride. But I thought this horse was really, really improving, and Karen Quinn did say that this horse could still be improving. And Jamie Moore, a few days later after a ride, I think it was at Lingfield or something like that, came out and they discussed a few horses from the weekend. And even Jamie said this horse, I don't think they found the ceiling with him yet. I was a bit disappointed the last day, but when I've watched it back a few times, and he was just done for speed, I think. And I think this horse is just a bit of a plugger. He just keeps on plugging on away. And if you actually watch it back, I know he finished 7th, but he was just staying on really slowly. So the 2.5 miles just obviously didn't suit. But back to 3 miles, it's not a good race. So you can say that now. Like the race he ran in last time was far more stronger than this is. Paisley Park. Now, one thing I'll say about Paisley Park, I'm convinced that if you know how to use the exchanges properly, that in play you'll get given a better price than the current 5-4 come the home bend. He's got to be at least 4s most of the time. Maybe bookmakers and stuff have clocked onto this now, but I just don't think he's going to in play be 5-4. I think you'll get a much bigger price in play about this horse, because you know he gets that kind of, he comes off the bridle a fair way from home and he just plugs away. But I just think that you'll get a bigger price than 5-4. So if you are a Paisley Park fan, I wouldn't be putting you off backing him in running. But Botox Has coming here. I'm starting to think now that the Mighty Goshen may head to Fontwell for the National Spirit Hurdle, just due to the fact they were intending to run in that race at Lingfield. They haven't done that. Botox Has could still go there where he won that race last year, but I think Botox Has will go here, and they may consider the National Spirit for Goshen. That's not confirmed. I've just had that thought in my head. But Jack, Botox Has for me. What about yourself?
Yeah, cracking race. Not a massive betting race. Completely get the Botox Has angle. I'm gonna have to leave him though. I know he's got great form over course and distance. I just think he's probably got a lot to find, giving weight away to both Gelino Bello and Dashel Drasher. Both Paisley Park and Botox Has have to give Dashel Drasher £6. And I think you're going to be a good stayer. I know they are both good stayers to give Dashel Drasher £6. Gelino Bello, of course, is a bit of the basket case, which is in there, of course, hasn't been seen since winning the Grade 1 over 3 miles. Aintree beating Gentleman at Arms. Not sure how strong that form really is. I think Gentleman at Arms is a mid-130s hurdler, so it can't be that too bad a form. But, of course, when they revert back from fences, there's always a big question to answer. And I think pretty much all of them, bar Molly's Ollie's Wishes, giving weight away to Dashel Drasher. He's just so versatile, isn't it? It's so hard not to fall in love with Dashel Drasher. I mean, whether it's the Many Clouds, whether it was Aintree on his penultimate run, at Cheltenham last time out behind Marie's Rock. He was giving Marie's Rock £1 that day. Clearly 2.5 miles was a bit too sharp for him. I think the step up to 3 miles on soft ground, he's 4-1. I still think that's a reasonable price, and hopefully Dashel Drasher will once again prove that his form beating Langadan over 2.5 miles will stand the test of time.
There you go, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Botox has finished in front of Langadan the last day as well, so don't worry about that. Langadan form is there. I felt like I just blabbered on about Botox has there, by the way. I just showing my excitement for a Gary Moore horse once again. Let's move on then to the 3:35, the last race we'll be covering, a race that I really don't like. It's the 2.5 mile Ballymore Novices Hurdle. This is registered as the Classic Novices Hurdle, and Pembroke is the 11-4 favourite here. Henri II is 7-2, Blenkinsop 13-2, Rock My Way 7-1, double figures about the rest. Jack, I had a look at this. I think it's an absolute minefield. If you pin me against the wall, I'd probably give a chance to the Henry Daly horse, Blenkinsop, but it would not be a race for me, this. What about yourself?
Yeah, we can just skip this because, goodness me, I think it's a bit of a rubbish race as well. Rock My Ways in the colours of good old Lieutenant Rocco, who never showed up for the Ultimate, which I haven't forgiven him for, but was second to We've All Been Caught last time out, so he may be able to take a step forward, but it definitely won't be one that I'll be having selection in.
Oh, well, that was easy. There we go. The 3:35 is a race that Jack and I will be leaving alone. But yeah, we'll have our selections up on the screen at the end of this. What we're doing this year is we're putting our official selections on the screen so you can see who we're actually going to be backing each weekend, and we can try and keep a monitor of kind of profit and loss, which you might better see at the end of each month. I'm sure Jack may share that on Twitter, and we'll also probably share it in a video at the end of each month as well, so you guys can see everything there. But before we go, Jack, we have to, as well as getting a nap's the next best, we'll probably just get a nap this weekend, but we've also got other selections elsewhere, and maybe even at Cheltenham, because there are other races there. What do you like?
Yeah, I've actually got 3 for the rest of the weekend. 2 from Cheltenham, 1 from elsewhere. The one from elsewhere is the handicap hurdle. I think it is I've got it here. It's the 2:32 at Uttoxeter on Saturday, which looks a great race. I mean, you've got Go Dante coming back from finishing 4th in the Challow after a long break. S Perfecto comes after a 678-day break. I think it's an absolute cracker. Fleur even comes back as well, the ultimate favourite from last year over hurdles. But Rath McNee has returned with a £10 claimer on board, and it's none other than Constitution Hill's Work Rider. So he's technically off 116. He's so much better than 116. Wouldn't be surprised if he's a mid-130s horse. He had a no-show in the Lanzarote. He hated the ground, was really hampered by Campron being brought down the second, but I think he's a fantastic jumper. He won at Bangor over 2 mile free in a race that pretty much turned into a sprint. And if this one does turn into a sprint, I think he's 11-2, 6-1 at the I think Rath McNee will be able to go close at the 2:32 at Uttoxeter. The other 2 for myself are going to be in the Novices Handicap Chase at Cheltenham. I think That's All Right Gino is going to really appreciate the step up to 2.5 miles. I can't believe he's actually 11-1 at the moment. You've got the Richie Hot Pot there as favourite, so and Unexpected Party, who I think has a bit to prove. So I think That's All Right Gino is a good jumper. I think he's going to really appreciate the step up to 2.5 miles. I know his final sectionals were quicker than the Gary Moore hot pot last time out, and as well the final section was on his penultimate run. And the last one, I don't know if I'm missing something in the last handicap of the day, but over an extended 2 miles, I can't believe Campron is 28-1 on soft ground. I mean, the last race of the day was, of course, brought down in the Lanzarote, won at Punchestown in attritional conditions over 2 mile 3, was 4th in the Coral Cup, definitely stays. I think it's quite a scratchy race. Punctuation is your comfort favourite. I think an extended 2 miles on soft ground. I wouldn't be surprised to see Campron run a big race. I know he's off second top weight, but I think Jason the Militant being in there off 11 stone 7. I can't believe he's 28 to 1. So they're my 3.
There you go. You stick with Cheltenham, and I will head all the way out to the Arab Emirates to Meydan, as I like to do at this time of the year. Just with my other selections, I have got 2 out there, which one will include my nap. I will get Jack's best bet in a second for this weekend. But the first one I want to put up is in the Group 3 Firebreak Stakes, the feature out there on Friday. It's the 4:55, and Prince Ejai I like at 11 to 2. Going to play this one. Probably going to play this one each way. He was 4th in this last year in a race that was actually won by Hypothetical. The connections of that horse have 2 in here, and Ever Given and Mr. St. Paul. I think this horse, though, Prince Ejai, had a really nice prep run in the Al Maktoum Challenge where Algiers hosed up in that race. I know Jack and I mentioned it the week after I put it up, but that was a Group 2 event. This is a step down in class. Now, Sam Hitchcock takes the ride. Atzini actually rode the horse in last year's renewal, but Sam Hitchcock hasn't had the best of times of things so far out in Meydan, especially the last couple of weeks, but I think that this could potentially be a winner for him. I think 11 to 2 is a really fair price. And the other one, which will be my best bet of the night, I mean, I was messaging Jack during the week with a few I liked at Meydan, but this is one that I've managed to find today, and I really like this horse. It's in the 3:10 there at Meydan. It's a handicap over 1 mile to 2 furlongs, and the horse's book review in the colours of Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed Al Maktoum, the same colours as Hypothetical, who I was talking about earlier. Course and distance winner who won back here in November under Royston French. He made all that day, and if you want a jockey that can make all on the dirt, is Miguel Barcelona at the moment. He is absolutely lethal out there. It's quite a weird one, actually. On the dirt, you want Barcelona from the front, and then if you're on the turf, you want Barcelona coming right from the back. But this horse here, look, 1 off 90 with ease back in November. Went up to a mark of 97 after 2 runs at Jebel Ali. I just don't think this horse likes Jebel Ali as much as Meydan. Back down to a mark of 95. I'd say this horse is really well in. Currently, what I can see is 4 to 1. Barcelona from the front. Boom. That will come in, I think. So, yeah, it's going to be Prince Ejai in the Firebreak Stakes, and then I will have a book review in the 3:10 handicap on the dirt. Right, Jack, nap of the weekend. I mean, usually we say, is it a nap and next best weekend? We're just going to stick to naps this year, I think. Who's going to be the best bet for you this weekend?
Oh, it's a tough one. If we knew exactly what the ground was going to be, it'd make it a lot easier. I'm probably going to go, not Campron, I'm going to go That's Alright Gino in the Novices Handicap Chase at 11 to 1 at 11 Cheltenham.
To 1. Nice bet there for Jack. And like I say, I'll be with book review in the 3:10 at Meydan on Friday at 4 to 1. That's it for this week. It's going to be a fantastic weekend. I really do pray that we get some racing this weekend. I mean, it's such a great card that we would not want to lose due to the frost, but I'm sure they're doing everything they can there at Cheltenham. Jack and I will be back next weekend for another really good preview. It's the Dublin Racing Festival. We're going to be looking at probably majority of the races from there. It's going to be quite a long preview, but Jack and I will discuss a nice running order during the week that we will have coming out, and yeah, looking forward to that one. In the meantime, what have we got? We've got a Cheltenham preview evening. I have not got details out on Twitter. I haven't made a nice little promotional graphic for that, but I will do this week. That will be out at the start of next week. If you live down on the South Coast, you can get in touch with myself. Even if you don't live on the South Coast, if you want to travel really far and come watch our Cheltenham preview, you can. But it's the 3rd of March, around 7 p.m. Come along. We've got some cracking guests in Matty Batchelor and Niall Houlihan, who will be in action on Editors de Digit this weekend, hopefully. So looking forward to that. That's it for this week then. We will see you next weekend. Thanks for watching, and we will see you soon.